It's Friday. The State of the Union is next week. What will Trump say? What should Trump say? Benny Johnson joins the show. Welcome to the Sean Spicer Show. Let's get into it. All right, guys, it is Friday. I'm excited. I know for some of you had a short week. No, not me. You know, you were here all week. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, a big show coming your way. The State of the Union is next Tuesday night. And as a reminder, we will be live, the whole team from the huddle, but here on this channel, as you know, you can watch it with me and with Dan and Rachel from the huddle. We'll be going live 15, 20 minutes before the State of the Union starts, giving us some insight and analysis. And then we will watch it with you and then have some wrap-up comments too. So if you're looking for a place to hang out, to be with friends, here you go. Join us. That'll be where we're at. That's going to be a big deal. We've got a huge show coming your way all week next week. So I'm excited. I will talk to you about that. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr will be here on Monday. Now, you guys know what I'm talking about with that, right? This is the guy who the Colbert thing, he freaked out. They had canceled this interview with James Tallarico because Stephen Colbert wanted to put his finger on it. The View's talking about equal time. This is what's supposed to be happening. And then there was this other merger, but we got a lot to break down with FCC Chairman Brendan Carr on Monday. And then Nick Sortor is going to be here on Tuesday as well. If you follow him online, you know how great his stuff is. So we've got a big weekend. And then I think Thursday, Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska. We've got a huge, huge week coming your way. So you want to hit that subscription and notification button because that's where we're at. Plus, again, just a quick thank you. Everyone, please go on Amazon over the weekend or right now. Go right now. Amazon.com. Order Trump 2.0, my latest book. I really am proud of this one because I spent a lot of time looking at the people, the process, and the policies that are different from when I served in the White House and why it's different and why this is going to be so much more historic. But also, it's not just back to back. The point that I wrote this book about is that the consequences of 4 years out of office allowed President Trump and his team to plot and plan the comeback. And I'm telling you, there's nothing else like this. Everyone else just pockets this. I took a deep dive into these issues and explained why it's different and why it's more historic, why he's getting the achievements done. So trust me, when I'm so proud of this piece of work. How many people I talk to about the difference? So go to Amazon, order Trump 2.0. Before I bring in Benny, though, I got to tell you, we talk about what's going on in Minnesota and all this fraud. You remember that's what ignited the ICE going to Minneapolis. Senator Bernie Moreno of Ohio, I'm going to try to get him on. He talked about this in a hearing the other day, the impact that fraud has on all of us. Take a listen.
If I had stolen $4,000 out of your pocket, would you hunt me down like a wild animal?
I think it'd be my wife that would go at you pretty hard. Yeah.
Well, that's what the taxpayers are losing in this country every single year to fraud. Think about that. Every single person who pays income taxes in this country is getting robbed $4,000. And when we sit here in Washington, D.C., and we say all this technical conversations, and we say, well, it's not just Minnesota. This happens everywhere, as if that's okay. In the business world, they call that institutional rot, when you can't even realize how bad your actions are because it's not our money. If it were our money, we wouldn't even accept, you wouldn't accept $4,000. We're accepting, by estimates, $500 billion every single year. So you mentioned, Mr. Talkov, and I'm picking on you because you said that what the American people want is the kindness and generosity of a nation. Is that correct? You said
Yes.
that? But they actually got stupidity and corruption. Isn't that more accurate?
They are not getting what they paid for.
They voted for kindness and generosity and got stupidity and corruption. And Mr. Corrin, I'd ask you over in Minnesota, because obviously we're talking about your state here, just a simple outsider's point of view here. The federal government gave Minnesota a lot of money.
So that's the thing. When you hear the media talk about how much people are paying for this or that or whatever, think about how much we're wasting. We're just wasting. Like $4,000. Someone walks up and says, would you like $4,000 back or would you like $4,000? You'd be like, of course. Would you like $2,000? Why are we so willing to allow that to happen? And then they say, well, we want more. We want to raise your taxes more. It's unacceptable. Unbelievable. Yesterday, by the way, the president making another example of how things are different now because he has this board of peace convened and he's talking about how to deal with Gaza. Instead of having some silly UN thing where everyone throws money and it gets wasted, why don't we do this right with a guy who understands how to build things smartly and strategically? And he talked about this at this Board of Peace, but then he had JD Vance get up and make a comment. And the way that JD Vance poked fun at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and remember, she was asked about her position on Taiwan and China and couldn't answer a basic question. So JD had some fun at her expense yesterday at the Board of Peace meeting. Take a listen.
President, very much for your leadership, but also for the kind words about me personally. I knew exactly what I wanted to say, but then after the president said that I was so smart and that I didn't want to repeat our congresswoman who froze for 20 seconds over in Munich, now I'm tempted, sir, just to freeze for 20 seconds and just stare at the cameras, and maybe they'll say nice things about me like they do about Congresswoman Cortez. But I have three very brief messages. First of all,
I mean, it was actually, I thought that was funny. A great way to end the week on an up note. Before I bring in Benny Johnson, though, I got to tell you, I've made this point to you before. We talk about voting and messaging and midterms, whatever. We vote every single day with what we buy, what we watch, what we don't buy, what we don't watch. And I love the folks at Patriot Mobile, because what Patriot Mobile exemplifies to me is how you can get an absolutely great product in terms of wireless service, wireless cell phone service. But they're also an activist company that does stuff that we talk about. It's not paying a company that supports woke left-wing causes. Patriot Mobile supports pro-life causes. They support veterans and Second Amendment, First Amendment causes. It's a best deal. And you get this premium wireless service on all of the three top wireless providers. So it's the same exact quality service, but you get 100% US service, customer service. You get mobile hotspots and roaming, all this stuff, a better deal than you're getting now. Plus, supporting a great company. Switching to Patriot Mobile is easier than ever. You get to keep your number. You get to keep your phone. You could possibly even upgrade to a better deal. Take a stand today. Get the best service you can get, plus support great causes. Go to patriotmobile.com/Spicer, patriotmobile.com/Spicer, or call 972-PATRIOT. And guess what? You get a free month for free. By the way, when you tuck yourself in tonight, be like me. I have made Boll and Branch sheets literally the staple of sleep. It's like going to the finest hotel that you've ever been in at your in your life, but every night in your home. Boll and Branch sheets are 100% organic cotton. They instantly make your bed feel like the most luxurious, breathable thing that you've ever been part of. I love when I go to sleep at night, tucking myself in, because that's how welcoming it is. They get better every time that you put them in the wash. It's unbelievable. They're buttery soft from the beginning. And I'm telling you, I love these sheets. I gave a bunch out for Christmas and everybody loves the thing. They get better, as I said, with every single wash. Here's the deal. Right now, you get 15% off your first order of Boll and Branch sheets. Go to Boll, BOLLAND, branch.com, bollandbranch.com/Spicer. You have to use it exactly like that, though, to get the 15% off. bollandbranch.com/Spicer. Use code Spicer for 15% off. Some exclusions do apply. Without further ado, let me bring in the host of the Benny Johnson Show, Mr. Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson, good to see you. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks, Sean. I know that you were a big sports fan, so how do you like them Indiana Bears?
Okay, I'm missing that one.
You don't know? The Bears are going to relocate to Indiana, bro.
Oh, okay. Well, look, I'm a Patriots fan, and in '86 it didn't go too well, so I've stopped really. I'm glad they're moving out of Chicago. It makes sense. Okay, well,
it's crazy. It's like the number one story in my timeline. I cannot believe they're going to try and run Pritzker for president, and they can't even keep the Bears in Chicago. Bears have been in Chicago for 105 years, Sean.
Well, so, there's an interesting through line. I wasn't even going to start here, but yesterday, Boeing announced it's leaving Virginia to go to St. Louis. And I put out, like, Abigail Spanberger has literally ruined the Commonwealth of Virginia in record time. I mean, you wonder, these people who got bought into this moderate agenda that she sold people on, and then it's literally like she went and lit the whole state on fire, because I've now seen, you get Boeing that says, hey, peace out, we're going to St. Louis. And I don't think people fully appreciate what a big deal that is, because part of the reason they were here, they wanted to be close to government because they wanted to suck up all these contracts. Sure. They're like, it's become so, these guys, Chicago, you mentioned it, Pritzker and Chicago have begun untenable. Now Virginia, but Benny, the thing that's interesting is that, like, I feel like it's a I told you so. Like, I said to people before the Virginia election, hey, I don't think you're going to like this. Oh, no. She's a moderate. She's from a law enforcement background. How bad can she be? And we're seeing it now in Virginia. We're living with the consequences.
Yeah, bro, like she ran with a dude who wants to kill all of our children. So no, she's not a moderate.
Okay, so you're against murdering people. By the way, I don't know if you saw this. Yeah. I posted this hysterical thing of J. Jones parking space on Gray Street in Richmond, which is right where the Capitol is. So there's a parking thing that says Attorney General parking only. And they've added, no, I'm not kidding, I put it up on Instagram if you want to see it. They've literally added a big sign that says no carrying of guns. And I thought to myself, how fitting is that they literally put it on J. Jones's parking space. I think that it's sort of like when you hear what that guy said about killing people, you'd be like, yeah, no carrying guns to either if I were you.
One of my all-time regrets, and I'm not a really regretful guy, like I don't really care, you just move on through life. One of my all-time regrets was not doing more in that moment, was not like going to Virginia and like holding rallies and like talking with people about this. And he was able to win, I guess. I don't know, it seemed really close to me. I'm not sure I trust the elections in Virginia exactly, but he was able to win, and he said he wants to murder a bunch of babies. And he wants to murder, like murdering babies for Democrats, fine. Like he wants to kill people. Republican kids. I mean, he said stuff that like would even be shocking if they were in the Epstein files right now, right? If you were to uncover this email from Epstein that was like, I want to murder a bunch of Republican babies, you know, like people would be, wow, like goodness,
but that's I think see, this is where what's interesting to me is that the shock value, right? I'm with you. I live here. I was like, okay, this guy literally just said he wants to kill his political opponent and then watch his kids get killed in their mother's arms. And I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't look it. It's all moisturizer. But I was thinking to myself, you've got to be kidding me. Like at the point at which people are like, yeah, okay, so what? You want to kill a couple people? Okay. Like, where are we that's like where the level of desensitizing.
I don't know, bro. You live in Virginia. You're the dork who lives in Virginia. Love you, but like, come on, man, move, just leave.
I know.
I left. I was like, you know, I'm out. F this. I'm out. Seriously, F this. Not sure how much I can swear on your show, but I have only one shot at life, and I will have a lesser of a shot at life, you know, in a place where the Attorney General wants me dead and my children dead. And so I better go to a place that is going to reinforce my values, and I'm not going to have to constantly be fighting upstream. I lived in D.C. I know that you lived in D.C. I lived there for 15 years. I hate going back. I can't stand it. Now that I'm in Florida, it's like it's so wonderful, and I can't blame the Bears for what they're doing. I mean, this is like the oldest NFL franchise leaving Chicago, and they're going to Indiana. And I thought about this for a second, like, doesn't it make so much sense? Not only will it probably be so much safer and less taxes, but also you'll be able to recruit so much more talent because they'll make so much more money just on taxes alone, right? In Indiana. I didn't look it up yet, but I'm sure Indiana has like virtually no income tax. There's no income tax in Florida. You know, it's like such a smart idea for any business, any franchise. And I love the city of Chicago. I was born in I was raised in Iowa. We would travel to Chicago all the time. It's so sad what they're doing. Richmond, also a beautiful American city that is just going to hell. And you only get one of these. It's not like you're going to rebuild Chicago in Tampa. You know, you can't do that. You only get one Chicago. If you destroy it, then it's destroyed it's gone forever. And it sucks. You know, it kind of sucks. From an American standpoint. From a different standpoint, it's nice to see the Boeing move. And it's nice to actually see, you know, because there's so much cool infrastructure around St. Louis. There's a lot of neat things happening in St. Louis. I got blown away when I was in St. Louis this summer. And it'd be awesome to see urban revitalization in places that are run in Republican supermajority states. Like this would be cool.
Well, the irony is, I don't mean to, no pun intended. I was stationed out near St. Louis for a while, and for a while you literally would get blown away in downtown St. Louis. I mean, so the idea that these folks in Boeing are like, we have to leave Virginia to go to a place that recently had a serious murder problem tells you how bad Virginia is going to get. But I want to pull this thread a little bit and talk instead of like to really get into the future. First of all, congratulations to you and Kate on your 5th child. I believe that you are building your own little fiefdom down there in Florida.
5 kids in 5 years. Dude, Florida's been amazing for us. 5 kids in 5 years. It's the sunshine, being outside. It's amazing. We can literally outbreed our enemies, and our enemies are cutting their off, which is so fun. It was really neat, you know. Like typically you'd have to conquer somebody to make them eunuchs. That's how it goes throughout civilization and society. Game of Thrones. You conquer people and you turn them into eunuchs forcibly. But they're doing it voluntarily, which is really exciting for us, Sean.
Okay, well, not where I was going. But the State of the Union's Tuesday night. You are now a serious, you've got a little Johnson army there. What do you want to hear, not just as Benny Johnson sort of movement guy, but Benny Johnson, like patriarch of the Johnson clan? What do you want to hear for your kids that say, this is what I want President Trump to address?
Yeah. There's so many places to go with that. I've never heard the bridge from eunuch, from the eunuch conquered people to the State of the Union. Well done. Okay, well done. I mean, I say that because I've seen it up close. I think you were at the DNC convention. I'm not sure. Were you at the DNC convention this summer?
No, I wasn't. Okay. I was with my family enjoying my summer. I don't need to go to a convention of a bunch of Dems no, that's just not mine.
Bro, I was there and I saw the vasectomy bus. And Democrat men were lining up. You can even call them that. Their testosterone levels probably negative temperatures of testosterone levels. But
do you think when they walked into the bus, they were like, "I don't even think we need to do anything with you."
I mean, that's exactly right. Just drink one more soy latte, and you'll kill the last testosterone molecule. But these guys were lining up. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it myself. They were lining up for a vasectomy. They were free vasectomies. Could you imagine a worse afternoon than going into the back of a bus in Chicago, down one of those pothole-filled roads, and having somebody snip your balls off like in a moving van? It sounds like the worst afternoon of my life. Democrats were signing up for it, en masse. They didn't have any. I asked them, are there any appointments? And they're like, nope, we're all booked up. So that's the kind of people that we're dealing with. So your question is important to put in framing like that, because there's only one pro-family party. There's only one pro-God party. Obviously, Republicans believe in God. Democrats do not, and the data reflects that.
Okay.
And so it is critical to ask the question of first off, that's why I like having children, because I'm a Christian and God commands us to be fruitful and multiply. And so God also, who institutes the government, in order to protect the family, that should be the sole purpose of government. And so I love the crime crackdowns that are happening. I think that's very, very good. I'd really like to see the Trump administration take a very, very firm hand on home ownership to get young kids out of the sort of nihilistic renting super cycle. I think that home ownership is something that critically signals to a younger generation who wants homes. They want homes. It's in our DNA as Americans to have private property, to have land. We're probably the only peoples in the world that that's woven into who we are as a people. That's how Jamestown got off the ground. For instance, they started offering property to settlers. I would like to see them take very muscular stance on this. How do you get cheaper homes in America? Because homes are more expensive than they've ever been in history, especially for first-time home buyers. Mass deportations and the H-1B scam. These are populations that are taking up all of the entry-level homes for Americans and for young people. You've got to stop private equity and private capital from buying homes, single-family homes in mass. If you want to build an apartment building, I don't care. But stop, that should be banned. Trump's doing that. And then you got to lower the interest rates for purchasing a home. I mean, it becomes unbelievably expensive. No young person has 50 grand sitting around in an account to go purchase a home. And this is critical because without home ownership, you have no on-ramp into the economy. OnlyFans is not an on-ramp into the economy. You have to have home ownership. You have to have ownership in the system. So hopefully that's, I know that I've had this conversations with the administration, something that they take extremely seriously. That is going to be a core issue, the core issue for young people, because everything in the economy really is tied to that. I hope that a lot of people get behind that, because the alternative is already being shown in Mondami. The alternative is we'll subsidize your rent, forever. Free renting, right? Some rat-infested, hellscape, New York City, leaky ass apartment, federal apartment, government housing. That's the alternative. Mondami's own advisor says, we're just going to stop with the fantasy of people owning homes. That's obviously not tenable. That's not what we want. So she said it publicly, so that they're already projecting what their vision is. So it's Mondami versus MAGA. Those are the two futures. We can win on this, like the most easily winnable issue. So I hope the president takes that on. I think that's critical for young people. So
I agree with all the stuff that you mentioned that he can do, right? But I remember back in my late 20s, my first house, and to your point, like having 50 grand, it's a little bit more complicated, but no joke, I literally put the down payment on a credit card. Because,
of course,
it's a silly story, but the bottom line is I got jammed and I'm like, well, I have these checks from the credit card company. I'll just use that. But that's how affordable it was. Right now, on the flip side, here's what I would say. The coolest part about doing that was that it allowed me to build some personal wealth, because as the house went up, it's a townhouse. It's not very big, but I think I purchased the first house for like $170,000. And so as it went up, I became like, wow, now I have some wealth that I can use to purchase another house or to loan against, right? So where's the line for us as conservatives where we say, hey, we want people to get that opportunity for home and access to home ownership? We got to be careful about, to your point, about this Mondami line where it's like the government intervening. So President Trump, you're right, can do a lot on institutional investors, keep illegals out that are driving up costs, and then secondly, try to do something about interest rates. But even if you give me a 0% interest rate on $1 million home, Freddie Mac say, hey, that's a 20% down, that's 200 grand, right? That's not even your 50. That's like an exponential amount. So I agree with you, by the way, because this would be a huge winner for them. But how can they make it more attainable?
Well, I mean, I would argue that and they do this all the time with the government, and I just really don't really care, by the way. Like, the free market and libertarianism, like while I adhere to that economic theory, it's not a religion to me, obviously. It's like the government should be there in order to punish certain behaviors. Like, that's the purpose of government. It says this in Romans, like that the government is the sword, and the sword should be wielded for the terror of evil men. And who are the evil men? Well, they're criminal aliens, gang members, and rapists who are occupying single-family homes that ought right to belong to Americans. The evil men are like infinity H-1B visa holders who are brought over here to steal American jobs, take over American homes. These are the evil, like, this is what the government's for, to kick these people out. And what happens is supply and demand. Like, I don't care if the government intervenes in this. And this, I would call for further intervention, Sean. So what happens when the government wants to incentivize behavior? Well, they take tax credits, actually, is the number one tool of incentivization of behavior. You want to buy an EV? Here's a tax credit. Okay, that's what they're doing, right? And I would argue that I think it'd be really awesome for a generational tax credit for first-time home buyers under the age of 35, something where you could write off, it's a tax write-off, right? But it's like so on the government ledgers, it's going to be, it's going to be equal, especially for young people. And nonetheless, you can write off the, principal up to 50 grand or something on a mortgage, or on your first home. So I think that'd be awesome. You kind of sort of age cap it, and you income cap it, but you also say first time home buyers, right? To incentivize the purchases of homes, because what are you doing when you're signing a 30-year mortgage? You're right, you are building capital, because homes on average go up 4.5% every single year. That's the average that's been marked by JP Morgan for the last 75 years. So on average, 4.5% the value of your home goes up. So that's a good store of wealth. That's fine. What you're really storing is not the ROI in your home, because you also get to live in it, which is awesome. So how do you measure that? You can't live in your portfolio, right? You can't live inside the stock market. You have to live somewhere. So there's the esoteric value to that. What is the actual value? The actual value is a bunch of people saying, I believe in America. I think America's worth investing in for 30 more years. Like, getting people to buy in and not have having the whole universe be throwaway gig economies, which it's just bad for your soul, actually. Like, it's good to have people buy into the system. And so I like that. It makes me an old man, makes me a fuddy-duddy, right? Like, and I have a penthouse in Dubai and I like crypto. Like, no, that's like not actually the lifestyle for me. You know, I smoke shisha in my penthouse in Dubai, and I'm just going to rent, and I'm going to pay in fart coin for my rent all day. Cool, bro. Like, that's great. Enjoy, have a nice time in Dubai. You know,
I'm going to tell you, I actually, so my answer is a variation of yours, which is we make home ownership very accessible for veterans, right? There's a VA program, very little down, secured by the government.
Yep.
I think to your point, there could be and I talked about this with one of the folks in government in the last 24 hours, where I said, why don't you guys in the heels of the State of the Union talk about a first-time homeowners program modeled on the VA program, where you're basically giving, to your point, people under 35, first-time homeowners, an opportunity where the government helps basically not on the tax credit side, but on the lending side. So right now, if you're a veteran, zero down, right? It's to your point about that access to capital that you probably don't have and can't get for that down payment, but that would get them there. But let me ask you, as a dad and as a continuing dad, I also have been a big believer that whatever party, and I obviously want President Trump and the Republicans to lead in this effort, can really start to talk about how social media is a scourge on our children, how that they're taking them down rabbit holes, they're not helping them learn, they're going in very, very dark places, and that whoever leads on this effort to ban social media and phones in schools as a leader in this effort will win. Would you want to see President Trump, my kids are a little older than yours, but would you want to see this president lead on that issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think phones should be banned in schools for sure. I think phones should be banned in schools 100%. Like, they should be in a lockbox. Like, you know, you can be able to call your parents with, like, the teacher's permission. You shouldn't have a phone in school. It's, like, obvious. I'm okay with, like, social media restrictions as well. State of Florida put those on.
Yeah.
Like, for age gating, social media. Like, we have this, like the worst thing you can do to poison your kid is not let them go outside and see sunshine and, like, have them addicted to blue light all day. I mean, that's, like, atrocious. And we're seeing the early returns on that. They're awful for kids. But also, like, do you love your kids? Do you understand where the world's going? Because the way the world's going, and the only argument for this would be like, we're going to live in a digital world and everything's going to be digital. No, dude, AI is going to take all those jobs. In fact, the only AI-proof industries are going to be physical, high-touch, human jobs, like nursing, right? Or like construction. Like, these are going to be things that, like, require human inputs, human labor. And, you know, if you want, like, a good career here in Tampa, I looked this up the other day. Dude, being like an apprentice for a pipe fitter for HVAC, like, starts at 80 grand. Doing roofing starts like 100 grand. You'd like master carpenter, you can like kick off at like 120 grand a year. I mean, these are like unbelievable entry level things. And you should encourage kids like to actually get out of that space. And this is spoken by a guy who lives kind of on the internet. Like, I get done in the studio as quickly as possible to get to the real life, right? Real life raising my kids. Like that, because that's actually what matters. And I think actually the AI driven world where white collar sort of digital spreadsheet jobs are just done for, you'll never have them again. No one will ever need that again. Like, you should actually encourage your kids to be outside and be in like high touch physical environments as much as possible.
Speaking of that, it's a great segue because both your wife and then you have really championed sort of the outdoor, the Maha agenda. This gets back to another winning issue that I think that Republicans should be all in on. I mean, Robert F. Kennedy has done unbelievable work in exposing the government hypocrisy, lies, misinformation about so many of the things we were told were safe and what we should be doing with our lives. And I guess my point is, when we're searching for issues, this is something, whether it's young people, moms, parents in general, like I don't know why sometimes the issues like in front of our face between social media and Maha, that we're not like, yeah, that's a winning issue. People love that.
I mean, that's the only coalition that like hasn't broken and it's probably gotten stronger.
Yeah.
The craziest thing happened the other day. So not the other day, yesterday. So I come home and my wife made spaghetti meatballs. And I was like, she cooks a lot of homemade meals. And I was like, the meatballs were clearly homemade. And I was eating them, like, this is great. And she's like, I picked those up from Trader Joe's. 3 ingredients in the meatballs. That's it. Just 3 ingredients, like the beef and whatever, like to get them to stick together. And she made them, and they looked and tasted homemade. And it's like, if like the libs, if the libs at Trader Joe's are like figuring it out that what Americans want is not be poisoned by our food, and they're like starting to present just like real food to the country. This is awesome. And we partner with Masa chips on my show. Like just 3 ingredients. You feel good after eating them. You feel great. You'll never go back. Actually, you'll never go back. And so people are sick of being poisoned. It's such a winner. It's such a winner. And it's probably why RFK has I think he has one of the highest approval ratings in the entire administration.
Yeah. Love me a good matzo chip. Last thing I want to ask you, Benny, when I look at your feed on social media, you're putting out a lot of stuff on the Epstein files.
Rage bait, yeah.
I just want you to give me a take, because there's some people I talked to that said, we got to get more out there. We got to do everything. We got to hold these guys accountable. Some people are like, we're not telling the whole truth about what the real deal is. I've had Dershowitz on the show a ton. Just tell me what your take. What do we need to know about what's out there, how it should be handled, how it's being handled? Like, what is the I'm disgusted by it, but I'm also like, it's not my thing. What should we as viewers and Americans take away of this issue as we head into like the midterms? Is this something we should care more about, less about? We got to demand more. Like, I follow it because I know it's in the bloodstream, but I'm not like you, who's really at the tip of the spear of this. So like, what is it that someone who's looking right now and saying, okay, explain to me, give me the elevator pitch, why I should or should not care about the Epstein files?
You're not gonna like this answer, Sean.
I'm gonna like any answer. That's why I asked.
You're not gonna like this answer, Sean. The Epstein files are about you. The Epstein files are about the environment that you and I were both a part of in Washington, D.C. You know, like the sex stuff and the underage trafficking stuff is heinous. It should have put him away for life. We shouldn't even be having this conversation about Jeffrey Epstein. He trafficked underage women, and they had him dead to rights, over 100 counts in 2006 for trafficking underage women. Now, it was George W. Bush and Robert Mueller at the FBI at the time that gave him a slap on the wrist, told Alex Acosta, you were part of this administration, told Alex Acosta, no, he belonged to Intel. Now, what does belong to Intel mean exactly? I don't think that means he was like some type of like paid CIA agent. What I think that actually means, and after reading through thousands and thousands of these Epstein files, it's become quite obvious what Epstein was. He was a fixer. He was a filthy lobbyist. He was just a dirty rat lobbyist. What he was the glue between the private and public sector. He was a hitman, right? And this is how Mike Benz describes him: the glue between the Kathy Rumler, right, at the White House counsel office, needs to get a job. He sets her up at the Rothschild Bank. The Rothschilds need to get out of a DOJ problem. Kathy Rumler gets them out of that problem. There's this filthy, this sickening, disgusting world that exists. It's like effectively insider trading, but you need a dirty, dirty person to facilitate these deals. And that's why he was constantly in these arms deals, negotiating these security deals. He was sort of like a hitman for hire in order to do the illegal thing. And Jeffrey Epstein would always say this. In fact, we were just hanging out with RFK, and he told me this story, that Jeffrey Epstein told him he would never buy a stock unless he had all of the insider trading information. It's like, well, wait a second. You believe you're so bulletproof that you're telling RFK, one of the champions against government waste and corruption, that you are straight up like only insider trading. And that like kind of cemented all of the framing for Epstein for me. Yes, of course. Yes, he did traffic children. He should have died in prison for that in 2006. It was a George W. Bush administration that let him off the hook. It's sickening and a black eye, and something that can never be forgiven, actually, the government not prosecuting to the fullest extent Jeffrey Epstein. But his real job was not trafficking. That was a side quest. That was a thing that he provided to some of his clients to grease the deals. The real operation was he was a lobbyist, Sean. He was a lobbyist that worked between parties, between governments and between private sector in order to get filthy and disgusting and sometimes illegal things across the finish line. And that's the universe that the elites work in. That's where the laws no longer apply. And that's what the Epstein saga has fully exposed. And that's why people want to burn the system entirely down, quite frankly.
So, I mean, I guess just going back to the question, do we need to demand more? Like, we want more?
Of course.
Okay, so that's the answer.
This is why nobody has ever wanted, and everyone's attacking Trump over this. I think some of that attacks is like totally justified. I will never defend like the way that the files release was handled. I think it's been, I think everyone agrees that it has to be handled better, should have been handled better. This should have been the transparency moment, and it wasn't. And it was unnecessary political damage that was done. However, people are totally missing the fact that so many of these crimes actually occurred under Barack Obama, 8 straight years. Straight through lines in the Obama White House with Kathy Rumler and Larry Summers, who were like best friends of Jeffrey Epstein. And then Joe Biden had like unified control of government for 4 years. Where the hell were they? Republicans are so weak and stupid sometimes because we could have pressed this issue. We could have forced these disclosures under a Democrat president and then caused Biden to panic, right? We did it with Hunter Biden. We could have done it here. But instead of causing the pain during the last 12 years of Democrat rule, when Jeffrey Epstein was, for part of that, free man and operating effectively the Obama White House. He did that, by the way, with the scandal with the prostitution ring in Colombia that they blamed on the Secret Service. The files show all of it. They show all of it. Instead of Republicans forcing the issue when Democrats were in charge and proving that we are the ones who are against this stuff, Democrats have seized on this opportunity, even though they're the ones who are like going to destroy Clinton for it, destroy some of their biggest donors like Gates and Hoffman. Nonetheless, like they've gone Leroy Jenkins and just said, this is our shot to try and like damage Trump. So anyway, yeah, I mean, yes, the way it should have been handled is, listen, you animals, here's all the files, here's all of it, yippee-ki-yay, right? Like, have a great time, and then we're going to like be looking into prosecutions. That's how it should be handled. I hope that it's handled like that in the future.
All right. Benny, thanks for being with us. I really appreciate your insight.
Yeah. Do you, Sean?
I do. That's why I do. Well, first of all, just so we're clear, I'll say this at the end. People have watched this for a while, but know that you and I are simpatico on how you just described what should have been done. I'll get it all out there. This is about covering up for really rich people that wanted to suck up to a guy. So I may have put it in different words, but you and I are in agreement on how this should have been handled and why it's being covered up the way it is. There's too many high-flying people, elitists in this government from both parties, at the highest levels of corporations, that don't want their association coming out with this guy.
Correct. Yes, yeah. Correct. And now that it's out, now you have the big question, which is, what are you going to do? If they can arrest Prince Andrew, they can arrest anyone, right?
All right. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, brother.
What a great conversation with Benny. I want to bring in Danielle Buck of Patriot Mobile to talk a little bit more about the causes that they support and why it's such a great company. Danielle, welcome to the show. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me, Sean. Great to be here.
Good to see. Yeah. So here's the thing. When I talk about Patriot Mobile, I always tell people that like the cool part about Patriot Mobile is that you're not just getting a great product and a great wireless company and phone, but you're actually supporting a company that's consistent with our values, faith and freedom and all that. I know that's you right. Deal a lot with this. Like, give us an example of like when we switch over to Patriot Mobile, what are we supporting?
Sure. So I love that question because it makes it so simple for everyday Americans to understand. We pay a cell phone bill every month, and we give a portion of every single dollar that we earn from people paying their cell phone bill with us to causes that align with your values that fall within our 4 pillars, which are the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and our veteran and first responders. So for an example, within the sanctity of life, we give to about 7 organizations. And one of them is called Embrace Grace, and they actually help women who have unplanned pregnancies meet their physical, spiritual, and emotional needs when they're navigating an unplanned pregnancy. They connect them to a local church. They're thrown a baby shower. They're given a love box that inside of it's a little tiny onesie, and it says best gift ever, because isn't that what babies are? And so it kind of shifts the perspective on not just for that young girl that she is not alone, that she is brave and strong, and there are women who are standing there with her, and it connects her then to other young moms, soon to be moms, from that local church that hosts these Embrace Grace support groups. And then they're throwing a baby shower. And then if they have needs like, an apartment, a car, it's not uncommon to hear, yeah, our Embrace Grace group helped. Our church helped get this mom what she needed. And so it's truly helping these women in this time of crisis that they're having with, if maybe the dad isn't around or decides to stay, and they're saying, you're not alone. You can do this. You can be brave, and we're with you. And so Patriot Mobile loves Embrace Grace because of how practical that is, right? Like everybody can kind of comprehend how helping somebody who's in that situation would be so dire. And so that's just one example. Obviously, there are some in the other pillars that I could give, but I think it just makes it so practical for people to understand that, like, when you pay a cell phone bill, you are funding life by supporting Patriot Mobile and therefore supporting Embrace Grace.
Yeah, and the thing that I love about this is that, like, so if you're a current subscriber somewhere else, all you have to, you're not you're getting the same exact service. You're getting 100% US, but you know that bill is also helping a place like Embrace Grace. Like it's, and who could not want to embrace and help young women who are being faced with this very difficult challenge get the support they need?
Totally. Yes, completely. It is, it's something that's so practical. And like I said, you mentioned it earlier, you're getting the exact same coverage. So your phone service runs through the major 3 networks, and we have access to all 3. So literally your phone will work exactly the same with Patriot Mobile. You can bring your phone, you can bring your phone number, and you're going to get the exact same network. You're just going to be supporting causes like Embrace Grace through Patriot Mobile. And so that's, so practical. It's so easy. And I think really the biggest hiccup for most people is actually taking the time to switch, because they hear about us, they see us supporting events all across this country. I was just on a call just this morning with some people that we were with in Florida last week, and they're like, I see y'all everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, Patriot Mobile wants to be on the forefront. We want to be activists. We want to be out there supporting, our veterans and doing all these things that we can to support them. And so because of that, it does take us all across the country. I'm actually right now in Nashville, and we're headquartered in Texas, because we're all across this country. And obviously your phone's going to work anywhere you travel, which is the beautiful thing. And the other thing about our phone service that I want to make sure people understand is it's actually a better product because you can have more than one network on one device. So, for example, most people are with one of the major carriers, and that's what you get, right? The service with one of the 3. Well, with Patriot Mobile, you can actually have your main line with one carrier, and you can have a backup line with a different carrier on the same phone. So when you're traveling, you literally will not have dead spots likely, because typically one of the other carriers has good coverage in that area. So your GPS, your phone, most of the work and day-to-day stuff will literally seamlessly, you won't even know the difference. You would just notice a difference if you're using a phone call on the backup line. But yeah, it's truly amazing. And like my husband, he travels for work, and he says it's been a game changer for him having those 2 different networks on one phone.
But you don't notice a difference, right? So if you're signed up for Patriot Mobile, you don't know that you're going between networks. You're just getting the best service.
Right. Yeah. You wouldn't notice a difference for email, for GPS, et cetera. The only time you would notice that you were using your backup line is if you had to call with that other number, because it does have a different number. Like your main number obviously would still be, but you would have a backup line. So we call it Patriot Mobile one phone, one bill, multiple networks. So it's only $15 extra a month to add that extra line on a different network on a phone. So, and with the smartphones now these days, it's actually very easy to switch. We can send you a QR code. You can download the eSIM. So gone are the days that you would have to go to like a store and spend 2 or 3 hours in there to get your cell phone switched. It does not take long. It takes maybe about 20 minutes, and you can do it from the comfort of your own home on your couch, and you're talking to an American you can understand. I love when I get to talk to people who are like, yeah, all your representatives are amazing. I'm like, well, yeah, they're all Americans. We have a call center in Texas. We have a call center in California, and we hire people that love our country and love God and are grateful to help out people like you and your listeners, because that's their job, And so it's so awesome. I'm actually here at a conference, and then I guarantee I'll come up and today I'll meet people that are current customers, and they'll tell me, you know what? One day I was having a really bad day. I was in the middle of something. I had to call you because I was about to travel. And one of your representatives started asking me, how I was doing. And I kind of said, well, I was having a hard day. And they're like, well, let me pray with you. And one of our Patriot Mobile representatives just stopped and took time out of their day to just pray with them, because that's what they do. And that's what we do at Patriot Mobile. We really care about God. We care about our country, and we care about people. And that's what makes up America. And that's why I tell people, like, once you switch, you're never going to switch back, because you're never going to have customer service like this again. And your phone's going to work the same. You pay a bill anyways. Why not pay it to a company that aligns with your values?
I love it. All right. So if someone's sitting there right now and saying, Danielle Buck, you just sold me on this, what do I need to do?
Yeah, so it is so easy. You can call 972-PATRIOT, or you can go to patriotmobile.com/Spicer. And you can use your promo code. Tell them you heard about Patriot Mobile through this show, and you'll get a first free month of service. And so typically a lot of people are on family plans. And so you can switch one line at a time, or you can switch the whole family at a time. So whether you're an individual, you're a family, or a business, Patriot Mobile can offer you the exact same phone service that you have, but actually even better, and support causes that align with your values. So call the number or go online. You can do the whole process online if you like. Some people like to talk to somebody, so no problem at all. We have available representatives until 8 p.m. every day of the week except Sundays. And we'd love to kind of walk you through the process of getting switched. You do have to look at your current bill and et cetera. So most of the hassle actually with getting switched is leaving your current carrier, because they don't want you to leave, and we understand that. But yeah, it is such an easy process. Like I said, it takes about 20 minutes. You can do it from your couch, and all you have to do is call 972-PATRIOT and tell them you saw us on this show.
All right. Mine's patriotmobile.com/Spicer. Danielle, have a great weekend. Love chatting with you.
Thank you.
And enjoy your conference. All right, guys, thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend. We've got a great show headed your way every single day next week. The big Texas primary is upon us, so we will break it down from all sides. We've got a brand new newsletter out today. Go to SeanSpicer.com. Thanks for everyone who's going to Amazon and ordering Trump 2.0. If you have some extra time this weekend, go there. Go to Amazon right now. Search Trump 2.0 or Sean Spicer books. Order that for yourself. Maybe it's a gift. I don't really care. Lots to check. Or maybe you buy one and share it with someone else. Anyway, that's your weekend task for this weekend. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.